here we believe that under the status quo, that victims have absolutely no control over their families, over how they are portrayed in the news, and they're often being victims of actually the media reporting the news the way they do. So what we believe should be happening instead is the incident be reported just as happening and just as occurring, but with no details as to who did it or who was the victim of it, and only if official report afterwards from the police could state what happened actually in this or the result of the trial. But we believe that unless the victims consent for their name to be used, and for instance, yes, we agree that, for instance, my son died because, as a victim of a racist attack, then only then, only then, we believe that this should be reported. And the reason we believe so is because we've seen often cases like the one, for instance, German Wings when the plane went down, where there was extensive reports of the pilot having depression, and then we had many reports of the person being depressed, and him being actually doing it purposely just to commit suicide, which may or may not be true afterwards. So we believe that just because there's no control over the truthfulness of this, and no control of how this event, how this information is spread, and no control of the family, how they are being portrayed, the victims are being portrayed, and for the very basic violation of privacy, we believe that this should change. That's why we propose that the media and the campaigning organizations should not depict or publish the event about the deceased person in the tragedy. So I'll be talking to you about two things. First, I will start with privacy and how we believe it falls in the debate, and how it's very essential. The most important thing we should protect about the victims of this tragedy is the privacy. And secondly, how we believe that we are not solving anything, but we are not solving the actual problem by portraying this, the images of this. If anything, we believe that our justice system is compromised, as well as us dealing with this problem. And then we'll move on talking about how the actual perpetrators, the ones who did the attack, are not treated unjust because of the media reporting it so extensively. So what we've seen happening right now is that once an event is happening, every media broadcaster is hasty at broadcasting what actually happened, because they want to get their hands on it first. They want to get, for instance, the clicks on the website, people watching it. So they are hasty making judgments. There are many of them who want to report this thing sooner. What they often disregard is the privacy of the person involved in this. So we believe that we are protecting, by doing this, we are protecting two different groups. Firstly, we are protecting the victims of it, and secondly, the family. Because what we how are we protecting the victims? Because we believe that every victim, every person out in society has a bodily autonomy over their own body and how they want it to be portrayed. So for instance, me, my personality, I should have control over how it is being reported out there. I should have control on how it is being used, my personality, how it's being used. Why? Because I face, after for example, portrayed in a certain way, which I didn't control and which could be untrue, and I didn't have an absolute direct relation with, then you, for instance, could be a victim of further harassment, of being misrepresented. That's why we believe that every person has the right to determine how they want to be perceived by others, and they should have the right to control it. That's why we give the option of the families to choose so. We, of course, don't say that we should hide this information whatsoever. What we believe is that families and victims should have say over what is happening, and exactly because families are the closest relation we can keep to this person and always care about the first interest of the person, know the personality of this person better. That's why we believe that they should be the ones making these choices, and not, for instance, this to be an arbitrary decision by the broadcaster, whether they believe this news is sensational enough for them to report, or the public should know about it. We believe that it should be the choice of whether somebody's privacy should be exposed or compromised should be the choice of broadcasters. Instead, it should be the choice of the family members, whether they want these people to be portrayed or not. That's why we believe also that this right of how you're being perceived should be maintained after death. So no matter that, it doesn't matter if these people are actually dead or victims of it. We believe that they still can, the way they're being perceived affects them directly as the personality and how they're being remembered, and what they have achieved in life will be compromised due to these broadcasts that are happening. So we start with the privacy of the victims and why they should have control over what is happening, and how this has been taken away from them at this moment, and how we and under the status quo, and we wish to change. Then we have the families, how the families are affected directly through this compromise of privacy. Because first of all, we believe that they are affected emotionally. Starting with them being harassed by reporters, for instance, right? So once this event happened, they are not only grieving over the event that happened, there are many reporters outside wanting to ask questions because people need to know. So outside asking for more and more. Secondly, we believe that they are constantly reminded of this event, which possibly was the most horrific event in their life and one that we've been exposed to. So they are constantly reminded of what is happening. And lastly, because we believe that there is a huge likelihood of them being misrepresented. So for instance, they may be the family of the person who had this particular views, was in a particular place and something bad happened. So they themselves are facing hostility from the society over the event that happened. Because, for instance, if I'm a victim of a shooting, then I, for instance, maybe I'm perceived as the person who triggered this, or the family who bred this person who triggered this. That's why we believe that we are preventing this, and we are allowing these families to have the choice of whether they want to face this publicity or not. Yes.
Don't you believe in the right of information for the victims if the family does not portray the actually offender?
Sorry.
Don't you think that the victim's family have a right of information about what the offender actually did?
Of course I do. That's why I believe it should be the family's choosing whether it happened or not. It will be the family's choosing whether this offender, they wanted to be reported what this offender did or not. Which brings me to my next point. Is okay, we do understand that we are compromising the right of being informed in this debate, but we absolutely don't mind, because we believe that this right of being informed is not compromised on our side of the house. Because we are telling you, we won't allow broadcasters media to broadcast news unless the family consents. But still, the government can still take many measures to prevent such events from happening in the future. So the government will be very well informed of what happened. All the authorities in the government, in the state, will be aware of what's happened. So they can take the appropriate measures in order to solve it. That's why we believe that future events may be prevented this way, and still every single stakeholder in the society that can make choices can take these right choices, can take these right moves. What we are preventing from happening is, for example, having the public know what's happening, not for them to act hastily, in order for the media to broadcast something wrongly. This is what we are preventing outside of the house. We believe that we can still very well solve the problems, which is exactly what we believe we are preventing. We are creating a society where, for instance, you remove people from taking part in the judgment of these people, in the judgment of victims, into interpreting what actually happened to them, right? Because I could be a victim of a shooting in a church because I was black, and you can people saying, oh, you know, he was part of the black community, he was very active there. The other side would say, no, you know, there was extremist rights, and you may be part of the debate you never wanted to be part of, and you may be interpreted in a way, personally in a way that you never wanted it, and you were never connected to. That's why we believe that we are preventing this debate, we are keeping outside. You have still the potential to solve the problems that are happening by governance taking place. So we believe there's absolutely nothing we gain as a society by the public knowing exactly the details of what the victims happened. If anything, we believe that the bloodshot picture of the person getting shot, or very graphic images or videos of what actually happened, are more to trigger sentiment rather than to bring solutions onto the table. For all the above reasons, we beg to propose, exactly because we believe that we should prevent the current exploitation of the families. Thank you.
I'd like to speak their speech and look across to the leader of the opposition. Leader of opposition.
Honourable Chair, thanks for the floor. Before I talk about my points of representation of people, in this case decade, in the public media, and about public interest of persons of public interest, and the families which are brought up by the government, allow me some rebuttal from a speech. We heard the example of the German Wings flight which crashed because the co-pilot decided to commit an extended suicide, we call it like that, in the meaning that he isn't just suiciding but taking over 100 people with him into his death. This pilot took the responsibility for his passengers. And this responsibility he took kind of shifts him into the position of being a person of public interest. He sought actively the publicity. He didn't decide to suicide at home, in his garden, or in his own rooms. He decided to do so in the public, and to do it with a great effect to the public, It was literally a great impact in the public appearance. And therefore, we think this pilot decided and consented the media, he kind of requested the media to report his actions, and so there's no need to ask the family.
So.
No, not now, later. Now, allow me to talk about representation of people in media. We heard the media might misrepresent the people because they are like interested in click harvesting. Maybe, but is the family the right instance to do it otherwise? I would say the family is interested in glorification, and we wouldn't have the media getting consent to report that he had depression, the pilot had depressions, and was likely to commit suicide, and there were several problems in his past. The family would have shown his son or his family member as someone who is very, very unproblematic in his past. So I don't think the family is the right instance to decide about the representation in media. In fact, in fact, the family isn't the right instance in other aspects too. For example, we heard the family needs protection, that's true. But the family needs protection from the media, and if the family has to consent the reports, the families will be bothered by the media and requested to consent. Maybe they will get offerings, financial compensation, or even getting bribed for in the way of a special misrepresentation, anonymous misrepresentation, if they don't consent. So media or journalists will find their way to get this consent from the family. Yes, please.
But don't you think that it speaks for our side if you give at least then the families a final compensation of the loss of their victims? Like in the end, at least they get some money out of it, because in the status quo they don't get anything at all, but only the loss of their
That's your point. No, I don't think that that money from the media to have a great show on the newspapers and a nice story isn't a good incentive for families to be happy with their loss. Sorry, I don't think so. By the way, who is the family? We don't know who the family is. The parents, okay, that might be obviously the husband or the wife, obviously too. But families today aren't that simple anymore. Families are much more complex. We have patchwork families. Who is going to decide? Who is? How are you going to decide if there are contradictory decisions within this patchwork family? Do you need the consent of all members of the family? Okay, so ask the uncles, the nephews, and so on. Good luck with that. So we think the family is, for various reasons, not the right instance to decide it and to be bothered by the media. Finally, we heard about the depicting of bodies. Well, this is covered already by the personal rights. The media isn't allowed to show pictures of you if you are participating in a demonstration, and if you aren't a person of public life. So if you're a politician or a pilot who is committing extended suicide with hundreds of victims. So in that case, no, not thank you. In that case, yeah, we think the media should be allowed to depict this person, to give information about it if they stick to some ethical rules. But if it's just a nobody, media isn't allowed to give any information out about them yet. Have you heard anything about the pilot of the machine? No, because he didn't become a person of public life, of public interest, by committing suicide, extended suicide. So his personal interests, his private sphere was respected by the media actually. Despite of the co-pilot, he put himself in the position of being a person of public interest. So, to summarize this up, I've shown you that we have that the family isn't the right instance to decide about this. That there are mechanisms who protect the normal people from being misrepresented by the media. And therefore we beg you to propose. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank very much for this speech, and would like the Deputy Leader of Government. Sorry, Deputy.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll be there on the loads of paper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What is important here today, what is important to remember, is that we need to respect the memory of those who are deceased. We need the information that we are going out to the public, not to be hurting people who are being left behind, and we need the information not to be hindering the justice system, as I will be explaining to you into my constructive case today. First of all, let's start a bit with what we heard from the side of opposition. They came up here with the idea, that using our example, that the pilot chose to step into the public sphere, into the public, by committing his suicide, his extended suicide, as they decided to actually characterize it. The thing is that, and this is where we had issues with this incident and this strategy, that information about him were coming out without the consent of the family, harming the people who were left behind, also harming the investigation process, harming the justice system, essentially, right? So what we don't want is the media to be able to play the role of investigators for tragedies like that. Now, everything else that he mentioned about, how about everyone else in the tragedy, the family needs to give consent for those private information and depiction of them to come out in public. That is not true, right? In the Charleston church attack, everyone was depicted with the pictures in the media when the news broke out. And as Vasilis explained to you, there are many issues with that, right? And a primary reason is that those people have families left behind. First of all, we are disrespecting the being and the memories of those by violating their personal life, by taking away the personal right, by essentially violating their bodily autonomy even after death. But at the same time, we're causing huge damage to the people who are being left behind. Either those people are their kids, their family, their close relatives, right? And we believe that that family should have the right to grieve in their own way, to have the emotion in their own order, as Vasilis explained to you, and should be able to make the decision the same way that they make any other important medical decisions for those people, any other decision that is being made after death for